What's up, everybody on Facebook,
everybody.
YouTube, all everywhere.
That's now working, right?
Now we're up at we have Facebook, and what else went down the other day?
Instagram, everything.
Instagram, everything.
But we're glad to be back up, so that's why we couldn't go live for this podcast vlog on Monday. But it's Wednesday, and it's a great day. So we are Jay and Ashley Nelson, or Jashley, and welcome to our podcast, Married to a Realtor. We are crazy in love, and real estate can be a crazy business. And we just love sharing how we love each other and other couples love each other through this crazy life, and hope to make other people, their love grow for each other and for the Lord. So Jay, who do we have on today?
So this is a dynamic young couple. I mean, I am so pumped about just hearing their story. Dustin and Lola Gassert from Leipers, Tennessee.
Which is a
beautiful place to live in Middle Tennessee. And Dustin, what's so amazing, Ashley, is the amount of business that he's been able to do in real estate, only being in his second year as a realtor. So for those of you young realtors out there, that just really want to see somebody that's really exploded, I believe he's doing over $10 million a year in sales in his second year. And his lovely wife, Lola, is the backbone of why he gets to run around and have all this fun selling real estate. So let's bring them on, Ashley. And guys, you're really going to want to hear their story. They're amazing Christian family, and they're just really, really awesome people. So with no further ado, let's do it. Dustin and Lola Gassert from Leipers.
What's up, everybody? How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you
for having us.
How are y'all today?
We're doing as good as I can be right now. A little under the weather, but we're making it work.
Well, we thank you for powering through and being on here with us.
Absolutely.
So I first of all, y'all look like a supermodel couple, right? What do y'all like? Are y'all like on magazine covers?
That's
like
all my wife. She just makes me look better.
And 4 kids, right?
4 kids. That's right.
Yes, that's awesome. What are the ages of the kids?
Our oldest is 12, and then they range 12, 11, 5, and 2.
Wow.
That's a lot.
We know who the hardest working person in the house is, and it's not Dustin.
100%.
Not Dustin. Yes. Dustin's like, I gotta go show houses.
Exactly. I definitely have the easy part. She definitely has the worst part of the gig.
So let me ask you. So on this podcast, sometimes people are both in real estate. Sometimes one of the spouses is. So tell us just a little snapshot of, are you both in real estate? Just one of you? And how long have you been in real estate?
So right now it's just me. I've got my license. Lola does not have her license. And I've had my license now for a year and a half.
Awesome. And Lola, what do you do I know what you do inside the home. Do you work also? People say, oh, do you work? Oh, yeah, you work. I say, do you also work outside of the home? Is there something else that you also do on top of your amazing job?
4 kids is a full-time position. So between cooking and cleaning and health things and all the things, outside of that, I love to write, and so I freelance write on kind of when I have time.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so our new project right now is just trying to get Dustin some things going in real estate as far as copywriting and things like that go. So I'm behind the scenes kind of doing those kind of things.
Very cool.
That is cool. So what is it like? This is going straight to Lola. So your husband gets into this crazy real estate business, right? And he's out there and able to do the kind of volume, $10 million a year in sales, and is, hadn't even had his license a year and a half. How has that changed the dynamics of what your days look like? Is it stressful that that he's out and about so much, or how's that changed the marriage part of it? Let's go straight into that, because there's wives out there.
Here.
There's wives out there that need you to lay it down on the line right now, because it is not an easy business. And yeah, exactly. Because when your spouse gets into this industry, you don't really know what to expect. And then all of a sudden, you're getting text messages at 10 o'clock at night and different things. Go ahead.
Well, real estate honestly was a pretty easy transition for us because we come from a direct sales background. And I think in those years, doing direct sales for so long, I think is what kind of taught me, on the behind the scenes kind of thing in the home, what that's really going to take and what that's really going to look like. And if anyone knows Dustin, he's an out of the box kind of person. He has big ideas and big dreams, and equal to that is risk. And I made up my mind years ago that I was going to let him go. I was going to let him dream as big and as high as he wanted to dream. And because I knew the heart and why he wanted to do those things, and they were pure and they were good. And so
was there like a decision like that you had to like consciously make that decision?
I think
it was probably after like the third idea I pitched to her. She's like, I don't think I have a choice here.
I don't know. It looked more like a season of just growing and maturing through adjusting my expectations on when he's home, what that's going to look like. I remember a few years ago making the decision that I was going to, as far as the needs of our home and of myself, expect from him expect him to be home or to do those things very little. And then giving him a large window to do the things that I know that he was called to do. And then, so our mornings look like he's a dad, he's a husband, he's here with us. He helps with the littles while I homeschool the older ones. Come 10 o'clock, he has from 10 to whenever, and it looks, the dynamic of it can be different every single day. And I think just adjusting your expectation to be whatever support I can be to him in the present moment, day to day, every day is different. And so just giving him that large window to do the things that he's the best at. And then when he wraps up for the day, he wraps up. And that's what it's looked like.
I love that is because it's, and also though he's supporting you with like, y'all have kind of like defined that here's our mornings, so it's like you have a clear expectation of what is, going to happen in a day, even though after that time it may be totally crazy, but still you are understanding of that.
Exactly. That he can come in and out, expecting him to be here to do the things that the day-to-day things would just hinder him from really being able to, that's the gauge, right? When you work for yourself, you have to put up those boundaries for your home, because if not, he will outwork himself. He will exhaust himself. So I think it's years ago, we realized that has to be done. We learned that with our, when Ava was just a toddler, that would have to create, because along with that, he will outwork and overwork anyone. So learning early on when we just had little ones, that had to be a priority.
Well, I tell you what, that is so critical that you guys recognize that. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people to understand that, I've always felt Ashley's the same way, very supportive of me getting out, and being out there running around, making deals. I literally just showed her a house yesterday that we already put a contract in to buy, and it's already a done deal, like hard earnest money, the whole 9 yards. And I just showed it to her yesterday. And she, it's like giving
but
now,
also,
wait, okay. All right.
This is good. But also, so we both have that tendency where we could work, until we're hurt, and so, but now I'm at a different phase of life. We're empty nesters. It's totally different.
Except our
And
daughter's
so-
making cookies back
Yes,
here.
yes.
I mean, you know what? Married to a realtor.
Good.
Riley making cookies. Love you.
And so whenever he started looking at doing some investing, you know, here where we are right now, I was like, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to be supportive of it. We're going to put a limit on it, and I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to put any thought into it. I'm not doing insurance on it. And so, because for years I did, you know, and so that's not something that I want to take on, but it is actually fun for him. So I said, I'm all in about it, but until it's like we're about to sign, I don't even want to know about it. Like that's too much in my brain. I've done that for years. Right. I'm done. I'm over it. But you know, if you love it, let's do it. You know, then you put in one right before we sign. Let's see it.
That's hilarious.
And a part of that is full trust. Right? Like I trust that he's not going to make. I mean, he can make wrong decisions. He can do that too. And but I know that if he's willing to make a decision on something, he's going to do it with us in mind, right? Like he's going to do it with all those principles like we live on every day. So I don't have to nitpick or examine or, you know, worry about what he's doing every second, because there's 100% trust to that. Okay, you made that decision. Okay, and then once, like you, I don't like a lot of details. I don't like, you know, I get very, you know, I can't handle, I could never do what he does. I mean, the emotional kind of coaster that is, I'm the total opposite. So, yeah, I'm like you. I don't need to know everything. Just let me know the gist of what's going on and go.
And it's funny though, like you said earlier, it is about seasons. So, but I used to be that way. And I needed to know every detail. And I was like, no, I didn't. And I was all on top of it.
We all did at one point.
A different season. And I'm like, I don't want to know anything.
You know, Dustin, what drives you? Like, I mean, what is it that because you are one of those guys that, you know, when you came into this industry, you remind me a lot of how I was when, you know, I've been doing this 23 years. You've been doing it a year and a half. But you had a mindset. I remember very critically a couple of conversations we had early on in you deciding you wanted to be in real estate. And you were very critical to say, I just need to know the playbook and then get out of my way, because that's exactly what you did. You know, everything that I said, you know, Dustin, kind of look at this, or kind of, you know, start soaking this data in and learning. But you actually took it and did it your own way to some degree, but at a very high level. What drove you to do that? Like $10 million in a year and a half being a realtor per year, that's no joke, brother.
Well, holy cow, I'm getting emotional right now. There was two men in my life, my dad and my grandfather, that I was blessed to grow up with. Like every day I was by their side. My dad had a great job, a great career. And then he would come home and he would work on just other entrepreneur type stuff that was on his mind. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was just a straight entrepreneur. That's what he did every day. He was a farmer. I was born and raised on his farm. He ran a storage facility, which was my first job when I was 12. I got to work for him. And then anything and everything that guy could do to make money for his family, he was doing it. You know, so I got to grow up seeing that and just seeing that mentality of truly what hard work was. And it was never something that they were just constantly thinking about or talking about. They were actually doing it.
Wow.
So for me, that's just naturally where it came from. My true drive and passion is my wife and 4 kids. I want to build a life for them that's just an extraordinary life. And it's not that I want to be boastful or cocky. It's just I want them to have an above average life because they deserve it. And I feel like God put us on this earth to do far greater things than just work a 9-to-5 job. And there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5 job. We need those things in this country. And I'm grateful for those people that work those 9-to-5 jobs, but I still strongly 100% fully believe that we were called for more than just a 9-to-5 job. And so that's kind of my drive and my passion, is just seeing how hard my grandfather and my own father worked every day of their lives, kind of instilled into me that, like, hey, I can't let the torch down. I got to keep this thing going and keep running. So
that's good. That's so good. We actually were just in Dallas at my nephew's wedding this past weekend, and we actually had this conversation with my parents because it just hit me, and it was like, leading by example is so key. It's crucial. And so we had eaten at a restaurant, and my mom was in front of me, and I paid, and she was walking in front of me, and it just like hit me, like I felt so blessed, just like felt blessing come over me, and so thankful. Now I'm getting emotional. So thankful that I had that example of my parents, plus both sets of grandparents, were hard workers every single day. And it's nothing that they said, it's what I saw them do. Yeah. And I just told my parents, I was like, I'm just thankful, that I was able to have that wonderful example. Yeah. And they said, my mom said, somebody recently said, do you realize not one of your children or grandchildren has a regular job? All of them do something.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We saw it, my dad was telling that he had, him and his dad had 66 businesses.
Wow.
55 businesses.
Listen to this.
And 5 made it.
5 made it.
Right.
He was telling this at us at dinner the other night. And he's like, people see, and one of their businesses.
They see those 5.
Here's the crazy part about that. One of those businesses, well, actually multiple of those businesses. One of them was acquired by Sam Walton, a big deal. The other one was acquired. These are big companies. So the thing is, and Johnny even said it, it's like we were failing more than we were winning.
Right.
Yeah. We refused to end on a failing note, right?
Yeah.
You just keep going till you find what's going to work. And I think that's critical for any young business people. It's like, you can either let defeat, it can either define you or make you. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ashley and I, we shared all the time, 2008 for me and Ashley was a nightmare. Right. My daughter who's making cookies back here remembers when, I had a house get foreclosed on and we had to move into a little crappy house. So, but now we're sitting here 50 foot from the Caribbean Ocean because I could either let that moment define us. Ashley did the same thing in the health club. Have you guys had, and in real estate, what would you say to that as far as like, now you're in real estate, it's not always easy. It's got its ups, it's got its downs, but what would you say to?
And how do you deal with that together?
Yeah.
We definitely experienced that early on. My mind is always thinking of what can we do next? What other business can we do to have on the side just in case? You never know what could happen. So early on, I was, working my normal jobs, but, I was coming home and I had a mobile detailing business. I got into a car dealership business with one of my best friends. They were somewhat successful and they put food on the table, but at the end of the day, there was so much work. And the benefits from it just wasn't worth it. And we just made the decision like, okay, this just isn't working. So that's one of those things where it's like, oh, hey, maybe this whole entrepreneur thing's not my cup of tea and I should just go stick to working, 3 jobs. But for me, that like failure drives me to do better. Failure, I look at failure and it's like, okay, what went wrong? How could I, in my next play, what could I do to correct that, to not let that happen again? And then it just drives me to do bigger and better things. So,
and Lola, how do you personally deal with that? Like, are you sad sometimes when
a deal falls apart?
I
think I dream with him, right? So yeah, when it hits hard, but it hits him harder. But we all feel it, right? Because we're in this together. There was a time where he was literally working 3 jobs, and I had a newborn and a 2-year-old at home. And this is where this comes from, because during that time, working 3 jobs with toddlers at home, is when his dad got sick. And it was work, and then get what little time he had left with his dad. And I didn't see him for a long, I would just see him through the night. If he would come home, sometimes he would practically live there. But when he was working those 3 jobs and his dad passed away, he would leave when it was dark and come home when it was dark. And I remember my biggest frustration at that time was, we want you. And he's saying, as a man, but we need money, right? That was the dynamic. And I was frustrated thinking, but we'll live anywhere, we need you. The kids need you. And I remember just that tension of, but I'm doing everything I can do to try to do that, right? And then he would, I remember that so vividly. My 2-year-old at the time, not the newborn, but the 2-year-old, she was so lively and she came out talking. She just was so much energy, so much go, so much. She wanted so much to talk all the time. And he would leave when it was dark and came home when she was asleep. So he missed that time. And when his dad passed away, it was like a slap in the face for all of us. Like, this can't be it. This can't be what it's going to be like for years to come, right? And that's when he jumped into direct sales, because he just needed an outlet. He needed something that would pay him what he was worth. And years into that, and now into real estate. But once you have a taste of that, once you have the taste of memories and moments, it's hard to go back to that. It's hard to settle at that point for what it used to be.
You really had to go through that to even have the understanding of
that. Sometimes you got to go through it. One thing I want to say is I got both of y'all's Instagram scrolling on the podcast. I got Dustin's cell phone number. I want to encourage, because I honestly, Dustin, I say this, I don't think that any young realtor out there could have another young realtor mentor any better than you. And so there's got to be somebody out there watching this podcast that maybe doesn't even know any of us. And I'm going to encourage you, fire Dustin a text, because you are helping a lot of other realtors see the light right now, and you're leading by example. And I say that all the time. The one thing that drives me nuts is when people, they tell everybody what to do, but they don't do it themselves, right? And you are one of those servant leaders that you practice what you preach, and I think that's critical. So I'm gonna just ask people that are watching the podcast to reach out to you, man. And I know you're slammed, but there's ways you can partner with different people in different aspects. But what would you say to a young realtor out there that's on the verge of getting so frustrated that they might just hang up the hat and say, I can't do this? What would you say to them?
First of all, I would say don't hang up the hat. God's got more for you. Just keep chipping away. It's right there in front of you if you're willing to go get it. The second thing, one of my biggest frustrations, and I learned this in direct sales, one phrase that I absolutely can't stand is fake it till you make it. I know a lot of people love it, and a lot of people are like, oh, just fake it till you make it. I can't stand that, because you know what? It gets really, really tiring faking it. It gets really, really stressful when you're faking it. So don't fake it until you make it. Number one, just be real with where you're at. Admit where you're at.
I love it.
Figure out a game plan of what do I got to do to get where I want to be.
Yep.
And then just keep your feet moving every single day towards that goal. And for me, like, another one of my frustrations is hearing people say, oh, you know, I watched this training, or I watched this video, or, you know, I'm doing this program with this guy. And I'm all about training. I think training is very important. Your Tuesday morning trainings is extremely important. It was a huge blessing for me in our business. But at some point, you've got to stop all the training and just go do the flipping work. You could be the smartest realtor in the world. You could have all the knowledge in the world about how to be the greatest realtor in the world. But if you're not doing the work, you're not going to get paid.
Amen.
So you've got to be willing to go do the work. Stop thinking you're doing the work by sitting in front of a screen watching training videos or paying some other person to put together all these programs for you, and you're just waiting for something to happen. So
got to go get it. That's what you did. You went out and went and got it.
Yeah, you've got to be willing to do the work. And if you're not willing to do the work, you might get a deal here and there. I doubt it, but maybe. But I'm not putting my family's future on a maybe.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it.
People would be surprised to know that we haven't invested a whole lot of money. Like I remember listening to we all listen to your trainings on Tuesday. It's just in the house. And it's funny to me to hear it.
It's in our house too.
It's just interesting for us, I guess, because we come out of direct sales and we understand the market. We understand that people take advantage of people, and there are programs and things because, you know, they're all in it to make a buck. And it's just so shocking to me when I hear how much people have spent to get their real estate, but we hope to see the fruit of that later. And it's like, I don't know. We're just so simple in that relationships are priority, right? Yeah. And when you value people and you can work with integrity, it just rolls. Like we don't spend a whole lot of time trying to market ourselves. We just try to be. He just goes out and he talks to people. He introduces himself to people. He's constantly following up with people because it's about relationships. And it is interesting to see the success he's had and to know that our number one, you know, I know for him and coming out of direct sales is just people, right? Getting to know people.
Well, and I think it's obvious that you're a part of that too.
Yeah,
you're a part of building relationships that help with his business, y'all's business. Mm-hmm. And then also you're a part of it because I think that some wives may get jealous. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, that is a real thing because, you know, the husband out and about talking, getting all
they got their face on the billboard, you know.
Just having, you know, talking to so many people, meeting so many people. So
and they're in the house with the kids.
That is a testament to you and y'all's relationship to know that it's nothing about that. There's no jealousy issue there. It's about just forming actual real relationships that do help with your business in the long run.
You know, I want to say something to what Dustin just said, though, that I believe exactly what you said about not being a fake it till you make it kind of person. And I think what's critical about that is being real and transparent is critical. I mean, I don't really have that in my I'm you either like me or hate me. You're gonna get Bill J. Nelson. But here's the critical part about that, and this is some people have to actually become somebody they've never been before. Like, it's not about faking it. It's about, you got to say, well, I don't have that part of my personality's not like that. If you want to go somewhere or exceed, success in a different manner, sometimes you got to grow as a person, become that person. And then you don't have to fake anything.
Right.
And what did you guys do to personally build your mindset? Obviously your father and your grandfather, I could tell how passionate you were about them building you who you are today. But were there other things that you would give somebody out there that says, man, I just don't have the confidence that Dustin and Lola have? What would you say to them to become somebody different?
Yeah. So when my background was teaching and coaching. That's what I used to do. That was my career. And I was one of the most introverted persons ever. But put me around high school kids and like my basketball team that I would coach, like I had a blast. They were easy to talk to. I had a lot of fun. But put me in a room with all the other teachers and staff, like I just sat in the back of the room. I was like a little hermit crab.
Really?
I didn't want to talk to nobody. And this is another thing that I learned from my grandfather. My grandfather, you could take him anywhere, put him in any room, any situation, give him 5 minutes and he'll have a best friend. And he could tell you anything and everything about that person. That's just how he was. And I never really valued how important that was until I got into business.
Wow.
And so to answer your question, one of the biggest things I learned was I had to not be an introvert no more. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to do business with somebody like that. Like people want to do business with like the lively, bubbly people, like conversation, like the go-getters. And so I had to force myself to talk to people.
Wow.
And this sounds crazy, but whenever we were out in public, the way that I would force myself to talk to people is I would look at people's shoes and I would just say, dude, those are some really cool shoes. I like those.
Oh, wow.
And I would just start having conversations. And it was never, my intent was never like, oh, I want to talk to this guy because he could potentially be a customer. He could potentially be a business partner. I genuinely just wanted to talk to people to try to break that shell of not wanting to talk to people.
Wow.
So that was the first thing I did was I just forced myself to get uncomfortable and talk to people. And next thing you know, like it's fun, man. Like I have so much fun just talking to people. And it's natural now. The second thing is you got to read books. You've got to dig your nose into some books, some good positive leadership type style books. I'll be the first to admit I hate reading. I'm not a big reader. It takes me forever to get through one book. But taking forever to get through one book is better than not reading a book at all. So, do anything you can. Put yourself around people you want to be like. Put yourself around the successful people. That's something that I'm doing right now. I've been blessed to be connected with some pretty influential people. And I'm doing anything and everything I can to just be around them, to just pick their brain, to just, hey, what did you do to get where you're at? Like I'm taking them to lunch, like asking them the questions because where they're at, that's where I want to be. So I want to know, what did you do to get there? I'm not asking for a handout. I don't want you to give me anything. I want to know what you did. And so it kind of goes back to that old silly phrase, you are who you surround yourself with. So and as silly as that is, it's 100% true. So.
True. Yeah. Well,
you guys are amazing. I mean, and and such an inspiring episode here with you guys. I mean, some of the stuff you said, I just know it's going to help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they'll follow you guys on Instagram and reach out to you and all of those things too.
Let's wrap up by each of you separately tell just one tip. So it could just be a general marriage tip that you feel like, really has helped your marriage, or real estate related. Either way, just what do you think, that you have learned in your marriage that could help some other couples out there?
I'll let you go first.
There's just so many that come to mind because it's a good question. But I think as a wife, when you obviously love your spouse, right? But love is so radical and it's so upside down, right? You have to lay yourself aside And that's contrary in a world that says it's about me and myself and what I do, and I need time and I need this. But there's something radical and very there's something that it's such an inner work when you say, I'm here for you, right? I'm here to be what you need me to be. And that there's something so satisfying, way more satisfying than it can ever be to only do self-care, right? To only think of yourself. There's something very fruitful and meaningful as a woman to know that I'm here to be anything you need me to be today, right now. And sometimes that looks like, crazy bun, chasing kids for days because he's got 6 closings coming up, right?
Yep.
Sometimes it's going to look like I don't go to coffee with a friend because I need to be here to do something, right? And he's equally as me, he equally does that for me, right? He will set things aside to do that for me as well. And there's something so radical about that I think what really changes the expectations to, hey, I'm willing and I'm able to be anything you need me to be today. That's meaningful on all levels as a wife, as a mother, as someone who's married to a realtor. It's real estate is only a byproduct of marriage, right? It's only a byproduct of what he already is. It really harnesses and bundles all together everything he's very good at. So I think that's why he's been so successful in it. But it's just a byproduct of who he is, right? As a man, and as a husband, and as a father. So yeah, I mean that would be my advice. And I do want to say, when he says I go for the best, I mean that's why he's so connected with you guys, because it's always in Dustin's mentality to surround himself with the best. And he barely knew you, and he's signing up under with EXP. I was like, oh wow, we're doing EXP, right? Because he said he's always had that mindset for several years. I'm going to the best. I'm going to the people who are doing it right, and I'm going to learn from them. And that's how he really is able to raise the lid on what he can accomplish, because he's constantly around the best of the best. And I thank you guys for that, because you've been a huge part of that.
Y'all are the best.
Sweet. Well, I love everything that you just said.
That's
it makes
awesome.
me think about, like, I've thought about this because when I was younger, and like you said, the world today says it's me, it's about me. I got to be number one. And I was, very, hard charging, when I was younger, and had to like make every decision, and, was 100% all the time, slept 2 hours a night. And then when me and Jay get married, it's like, hold on.
I'm so sorry you had to deal with that.
For this to survive, I need to put things in a different order. And I really actually went back to the Bible to see that order, and had some realizations that, we as women were created to be a helper to man. And that was like kind of like a gut punch for me. Wait, I was created to be the helper, That was so good for me to study and look into, because it just totally changed my mindset. And there is so much value in that is not valued by the world.
Right.
And
wow,
so we can feel undervalued, but it really is so valuable. That's what we were created for. And I think
it's meaningful because he loves me in that way too, which really elevates me almost higher, right? Because when he shows me that honor, even though what I feel like I'm doing dishes all day, and I'm grocery shopping, and the things I think about seem mundane, he honors me and respects me in a way that almost elevates me higher than him. I mean, it's so it's so backwards, it's so upside down, but you're right. It's something that is, it's you just have to you learn that over time, and you have to get to a point where you're like, you have to decide, am I going to kind of live the way the culture lives, in the way that is, it's not satisfying, right? It does exhaust itself. It doesn't last. But like you said, when you go to the Word, there's something that it just puts order to how we're made and how we're created. And what us as a helper, as a spouse, as, a mother, it just puts everything in alignment, and those mundane things become extraordinary.
That's awesome. So Dustin, what would you say to finish this thing up? Man, you guys are awesome. Y'all are helping a lot of people.
Man, I could go so many different ways with this. I'm going to give you two just because I have to. Number one is there's nothing in this world that you can do by yourself. You have to have Jesus in your life. You have to put all your faith and all your trust in him. And I promise you, no matter whatever you're going through, no matter what you're facing, he'll get you through it. So coming into this real estate business, this is leading to my second thing. In direct sales, there were so many voices in my head. There was my mentor. There was other successful leaders in the company. And I was constantly chasing, what he's doing is working. Well, what he's doing is working. What my mentor is doing is working. And I never truly found what worked best for me. And I was constantly chasing man and the man's idea and asking all the questions to all the successful people. And I was never truly asking for God's help to help me figure out what worked best for myself. So when I decided to join EXP, I could quickly see how I would end up down that same road just because there's so many successful people in EXP. But I remember vividly telling Lola, like, I will not allow that to happen again. Like, I'm going to seek help and I'm going to seek advice, mostly from you, Jay, and your Tuesday mornings calls. But I'm not going to go bouncing around looking at all the successful EXP people trying to figure out what they're doing. And I'm just going to be me. I'm going to wake up every morning. I'm going to ask God to divinely connect me to the people that I need to be connected with that day to help me build my business to where we want it to be.
Wow.
And truly, that is why we're where we're at. Like, I have not done anything special in this. I get asked all the time, what are you doing? What marketing campaigns are you using? What CRMs are you using? What tools? I'm like, listen, I just wake up every day and I just pray that God will connect me to the right people that I need to be connected with to be successful that day. And that's it. Like, I don't pay for anything. I don't pay any monthly fee for anything. The biggest advertising expense I ever paid for was to wrap my truck. And that was just because I wanted to.
And that truck is sick.
That had nothing to do with like, oh my gosh, let me wrap my truck so I can get thousands of dollars in leads and clients and all this other stuff. It was just, I thought it'd be cool and why not? So I did.
And it is cool.
But we don't pay for anything. It's just strictly asking the Lord to help us build this business, figuring out what works best for us and getting after it and doing it every single day. Because I learned a few years ago that, if I'm trying to build a successful business and whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So in real estate, I believe you got to get on the phone and you got to make some phone calls.
Yep.
So if you call one person a week, you might be successful. You might get something here or there. It's at the end of the day, it's better than nothing. If you call one person a day, hey, your chances get increased. You might build a little momentum. But what if you call like 5 to 10 people a day? What if you call 20 people a day? Like, the more people you talk to, the more chances of success are going to happen. So that would be my biggest tip is trust Jesus, ask him to help you every single day and go do the work.
Hey, can they find your CRM at jesus.com? That's your CRM.
Probably.
Well,
I don't even know if that's a website.
If it's not, it is now.
Yeah.
Well, we love y'all and thank y'all so much for being on here. And so y'all, I know this is going to touch so many people and help so many people all over the place. We always end this podcast with everybody has to make a heart with your hands.
Which when we started doing
Dustin,
this podcast,
you have to do it.
This was the first time I ever did this, Dustin.
And then we all have to kiss. You have to kiss each other on camera.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Mwah. Married to a realtor, Dustin
easy to
Lola
do.
Gassert.
That's the easiest part.
Guys, y'all are amazing, and you help so many people. And reach out to them, and you know, you guys are just inspiration to so many people. Love you guys.
Love
See y'all
you. Thank you for having us.
Call me.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
See y'all.
Yeah.
Bye.